Hi there, and welcome to my first video in the series on using the LXNav Nano and Naviter SeeYou as a supplementary training aid in the architect gliding program. Using these two tools together can be a pretty powerful way of teaching pilot decision making to younger pilots when they can see a flight played back step by step and analyze the decisions made by the pilot. So some things I'd like to get into in these videos are how to set up the Nano recorder properly, how to configure and use SeeYou for the architect gliding program, and that would encompass basic configuration of the program, playback of the logger files, as well as a little bit on marking practice areas so you can visualize your practice areas a little better. The last thing I'd like to get into is how to import the logger files into Google Earth to do some advanced analysis like determining the glide slope of the glider at any point in time when you're analyzing wind and glider performance. So first thing I'd like to get into is just configuring the device for recording. And a couple things you're going to want to know about using the older Nano if you have the very first version. It can be kind of tricky to get it into recording mode. So first of all, if you want to get it on for recording, you got to look at a couple things. If the unit is already plugged in and charging, and you can see the charging indicators, you can just hit the rocker switch to turn it on and wait for it to boot up, and you'll be ready to record at that point. You can remove it from the power source, and it should have about 35 hours of battery life. If the battery has died, or you've turned it off manually by holding the rocker switch, you're going to want to plug it back into a USB port or a portable power bank, and then hit the rocker switch to turn it on and wait for it to boot up, just like you did above. If you're just trying to open it as a USB drive so you can get your log files, you're going to want to make sure it's off and not in recording mode. So you'll hold the rocker switch and turn it off, and then you can just connect it to a USB port and it should show up. So we're going to head over to the Nano now. So I'm going to go to my computer and we're going to plug the Nano in, and it should show up as a USB device. So here you can see Nano 1093, that's just the serial number of your specific Nano. Mine is 1093. So you can open that up and you're going to see a couple things. The two main things that you should see are the Nano configuration utility as well as the Nano Manual. They should both come on the device. If you're having any trouble getting the device on or how to use it and read the blinking lights, you can just use the manual for that. This is manual 2.16. I think it's a little bit old. If you do have older software on your Nano, you can update it fairly easily just by heading over to gliding.lxnav.com. If you want an updated version of your Nano configuration software, you can either open the software and it should automatically update itself on your Nano, but if that doesn't happen, you can go to this website, go to Downloads, go to Software, or rather Software Nano Config. It's a faster way. And you scroll down, and under Desktop Users, Nano Config can be downloaded here. It'll take you to the Downloads page, and here you can see there's the Windows version, 1.66, and the Mac version here, 1.6.3. And you just hit Download, and you can run this program off of your computer to configure the device, but it's a whole lot better to actually just kind of keep it on the device and just overwrite the file that's already on there. If you need an updated version of the manual, you can head to Downloads and Manuals, and you can scroll down through these devices until you see the Nano. These are the older Nanos here. These are the newer versions, and you can see that they're multilingual files here. So if you want the English one, you can click this one. And then you can view the updated version. So heading back over to the Nano here, we're going to configure it. So we're going to double click on the configuration utility. So when you open it up, you should see this screen, and most of this information has been imported from my configuration files already. You'll probably see a pop-up here to configure or to update your version of Nano config to the latest version. This one's already updated, so it's not going to show up. This particular message that's popping up is asking if I want to update the Nano firmware. And the way this works is if you say yes, it won't actually do anything until the device is removed from USB. And that's what this message is saying here. So to update it properly, you charge it up all the way, hit yes to that message, and then basically unplug it again, and it will update the firmware on the flight recorder just to make sure the device will work properly and get the updates it needs. So in front of you, you can see a couple things here. A lot of this is for competition use, but we can use it for good record keeping. You can enter your name, possible co-pilot here. You do want to type in the glider that you're going to be flying, as well as you can put a registration in there if you want. Nothing too fancy, that's just for your own personal record keeping. The next thing you can do is head over to the recording settings. In the Air Cadet gliding program, our flights tend to be quite short, so if we want to capture enough detail to play the flights back and be able to see everything happening step by step, you're going to want to have a fairly short recording interval. So this is the minimum, 1 second, which just means it's going to take a data point every second, which should be good enough for our purposes. You do want to tick off automatically finish flight, so that when the glider gets on the ground and it stops moving, it'll stop recording. If you don't do that, it'll just keep recording all day and it won't split it up into different files, which can be kind of annoying. You don't want this one ticked off. That's for basically turning on the Nano and just starting recording right away. The default setup is actually when the device detects a certain speed or a certain rate of climb, it'll start recording automatically. So if you have this one ticked, then it'll start recording and stop recording automatically. You don't want this one. This is automatically turn off the Nano when the flight is finished. You don't want it to turn off the Nano if you're going to be doing multiple flights in the day. You can turn off Bluetooth to save a bit of power. You can turn off this serial output to save some power. You can leave these units whatever way they are set, just because you can change the units when you get into SeeYou for playback however you want. So that's the basic configuration of the device. Our next video will be on how to configure SeeYou for playback.